Hi everyone, in this short video I'm going to show you how to use the FIU Library's website to access two databases, PubMed and the Science Citation Index, and how to use those databases to look for primary research articles. So if you are at home, the first thing that you need to do is to log in. So for this, you're going to use your FIU Library credentials or your regular email credentials that you would use to log into your FIU email or to log into Canvas. Now, once you log in, you're going to see the same website again. So we're going to return to the FIU Library's homepage. And from there, we're going to access the databases. So once we're back in the homepage, you click on Research Start. And what you're going to see when you get to Research Start is a long list of databases, but we're going to actually just search for a couple of databases. So we're going to click on A through C databases. And then we're going to search. So I'm going to start with the Science Citation Index because PubMed might be more useful for biomedical topics. This one is more useful for broad topics in the biological sciences and other sciences as well. So this is our first search result, Science Citation Index. Once I click here, it'll take me to that database. Now that I'm here, I'm going to make sure that instead of leaving this as the Web of Science core collection, I change this to all databases. The next thing I want to do is to change the time span or the range to the last 10 years. So I'm going to click here, click custom range, and I've already typed 2010 here was the last thing I typed, so I had already saved it. If not, you could just type 2010, select 2010, and that will limit your search results to articles that have been published within the last 10 years. Now, I'm going to do this search two different ways. First, I'm going to use keywords where I'm searching anywhere in the paper. And so the field that indicates this here is topic. Then I'm going to conduct the same search, but instead of searching anywhere in the paper, I'm going to search the title. So the search will only look for papers that have my keywords within the title. So my search I'm gonna use the words melanoma and citrus. Suppose that I'm interested in figuring out whether consuming citrus fruits is associated with increased risk of melanoma because I heard somebody say this on TV, and I want to find out if there's more information about that, and if this has actually been looked at by scientists. So if I conduct a search looking anywhere in the paper for those two terms, I'm going to get about 100 results. So this is what you see here. So there's 100 search results. That does not mean that all of these results are relevant to my topic, but some of them may be. So for example, result number 5 here says, citrus consumption and risk of cutaneous malignant melanoma in the Women's Health Initiative. So this could be something that would be helpful to me. So suppose that I want to figure out whether this article is primary. I want to see if there are any more articles like this one. I would click on this result, and then I can look at articles that were cited, that this study cited. So this study has 24 references, and we can see that if I have links for those here. So if I was interested in any of these, I could also use these. I could link to them and go to those records. Now, if I want to access the article to see if we have it at FIU, I would click on Find It at FIU. And I'm going to go back to the search results so you can see that you'll see that same link, Find It at FIU, in the results list. So if you click Find It at FIU, if we have the article, there are different ways that you can access it. And if we do not, then you would have to do an interlibrary loan. So we have the article, and you can see that there is a link that says LibKey Instant PDF. When you click here, this will actually take you to the PDF of the article, so you can download it to your computer and save it so you can use it for later. So you can see the article here, then I can just click download and save it to my computer. Now, in order for you to figure out if an article is primary or a review, remember that you have to look at whether the authors who wrote the paper actually conducted this study. So we can figure this out by looking at the language that the authors use in the article. So for example, in this article, the authors state, we examine the relationship between citrus consumption and cutaneous melanoma risk among 56,205 Caucasian postmenopausal women in the Women's Health Initiative. So this tells you that they actually conducted this study themselves because they were the ones who carried out the study using this particular population. Other things that could, kind of suggest that this is a primary article is when you look at the methods of the article, you'll see that they describe the study population, that they describe how they discerned which individuals had melanoma, then they discuss their statistical analysis. So these things tell you that the authors themselves carried out this particular study. Now, if we go back to our database, I'm going to show you an example of what a review paper looks like compared to a primary article. So I'm going to go back to that first record I was interested in that seemed to be related to the topic I'm interested in. And I'm going to scroll down to the cited references. So here I have a series of results, and I'm going to show you what different types of reviews look like. So a review is a secondary article, which is an article that was written by individuals other than those who conducted the study. And even if it is written by the same individuals who conducted the study, it is talking about multiple different studies that were published before the review was published. So you can see that it tells you here document type review. The title also says systematic review. So those are clues already that this is not a primary study. Within the database, we could actually see the abstract of the article. And you could see that in the abstract, the methods tell you electronic databases were used to identify eligible articles. So this shows that the authors didn't actually conduct the study. They gather other articles in order to write a review about those articles, to discuss those articles. Here's another example of a review paper, and you can see that the document type is listed as article. However, upon close inspection, we can figure out that this in fact is a review paper rather than a primary research paper. So I clicked on Find It at FIU so that I could get to the PDF for this paper. So when we open the paper, if we scroll through the paper, rather than seeing results, methods, discussion, and seeing figures, we see different sections. So we see a section titled sun exposure and melanoma body sites. We see sunbeds, sunscreens. And so you can see that the authors do not describe any methods here. And sometimes review articles do include methods like the one I just showed you, where the method was to look for other papers, but oftentimes they do not. So this is an indication, the lack of a methods, results section, and figures, that this is a review paper. If you were to read the article, and specifically if you just take a quick look at the abstract, you could see that they're not describing experiments that they conducted themselves. Rather, they're talking about a summary of the findings of other sources. Here's another example of a review article. When we look at the record for this article within the database, we see that this one is labeled as a review, and then when we go to the actual article, it is also labeled as a review article. So sometimes, like I showed you before, it's very simple to determine whether an article is a review paper because they're clearly marked, whereas other times you have to actually read the abstract. You may have to read the entire article to figure out whether it was a review paper or a primary article. Now, the last thing I want to show you is how the number of results changes if you restrict your search so that you are searching within the title of the paper rather than anywhere in the paper. So when we do this and we click on search in the database, you'll see that we only get 18 results. So now these results all have these two search terms within the title. So they may be more relevant to what we're looking for. However, keep in mind that by doing this, by restricting the results to have your keywords only in the title, you are greatly decreasing the number of papers that you're going to see. So it might be more advantageous to first search by keyword, and then based on how many results you get, if the number is too high, then you can search within the title only. The other database I want to show you is PubMed because it is widely used in the scientific community. and because it has a really neat feature that allows you to create references, formatted references. So if we search PubMed, this is in the FIU Library's website, we're once again in the A through C list of databases. So I search PubMed here, and I'm going to click on the PubMed link. Now, once I get to PubMed, I'm going to conduct the same search, melanoma and citrus, and you'll see that the number of results is slightly different. I actually only get 50 results here as opposed to 100 in the other database. If I conduct the search so that it's only searching within the title, and that's done a little bit differently in PubMed, so I use what are known as Boolean operators. Then when I do that, I can see that I get 13 results, which is somewhat similar to what I got in the other database. Now here we have some of the same papers that we saw in the previous database, and you'll see that if I were to click on those, that it would take me, if I clicked on Find It at FIU, it would take me once again to the same place where I got the PDF using the other database. So that Find It at FIU link that's in every database is always going to take you to the location within the FIU library that you can access the paper. So if we click there, we're going to have the same PDF file that we saw before. One useful feature of PubMed is I can actually get formatted references using this database. So you could see that all records have a button on the right-hand side that says Cite. If you click on this button, you'll get a box that looks like this, and the format is set to AMA, but we're going to be using APA formatted references. So you change that to APA, then you would click Copy, and if you open a Word document, you could paste this reference just by clicking Paste or Control V, Command V into your Word document, and it would paste the formatted reference for you. Now, something I did not show you here is that you have to adjust the number, or you have to limit your search results. So here, if you look at this graph that we see that we have results going from 1992 to 2019, but we only want results for papers that were published within the last 10 years. And we can find those by scrolling down and just clicking 10 years. And that will restrict our search results to articles that were published only in the last 10 years, which is what you're seeing here. And that is a total of just 9 articles if we're searching within the title. If we remove this descriptors so that we're searching anywhere in the articles, not just the title, then we see that the number of results increases to 35, which is less than the original 50 that we had before. Another way to limit a search in PubMed so that we're only looking within the title of the article, so we're searching for our keywords within the title, is by clicking on Advanced. And then once we are there, we're going to see boxes similar to the ones we saw in the other database. So here we would type our search term, which is melanoma, and then instead of leaving old fields, we would change this to title, which is located near the bottom of the list. Then we would click Add, and then we would type our other term, which is citrus, and also click And. So this would pretty much create the same search query that we had used without going into the advanced search builder. This is helpful if you can't remember exactly how to put together the search. And once you click search, then you see that we once again have those 9 results for those articles that were published within the last 10 years, which have these 2 keywords within the title of the article.